This committee meets today to consider the posture of the Air Force in the context of our review and oversight of the fiscal year 2018 defense budget request. I welcome our witnesses, Secretary of the Air Force Heather Wilson and Chief of Staff of the Air Force General David Goldfein. This committee honors the outstanding men and women of the United States Air Force on this anniversary of D-Day. We recognize the service and sacrifice of all generations of our armed forces, and we are guided by their example. Hearings like this are an opportunity to reflect on whether we are meeting the highest constitutional responsibility to ensure that our armed forces have the resources they need to provide for the common defense. The simple answer is that in recent years, we have not. With growing threats around the world, we have asked our men and women in uniform to do more and more, but we have not given them what they need. America's airmen and our other service members have paid the price. The Budget Control Act and sequestration remain the law of the land. The military buildup we need and that the President promised remains illegal, and there is still no serious progress being made to change that. The self-inflicted wounds of these budget cuts have produced the smallest, oldest, and least ready Air Force in our history. Currently, the force is short 1,500 pilots and 3,400 maintainers. I repeat, currently the Air Force is short 1,500 pilots and 3,400 maintainers. This is a full-blown crisis, and if left unresolved, it will call into question the Air Force's ability to accomplish its mission. Americans become Air Force pilots because they love to fly high-performance aircraft, and they become maintainers to work on those aircraft. If budgets do not allow these service members to do their jobs and perform the mission they love, they will vote with their feet, and there is no retention bonus high enough to win a bidding war with the commercial airlines. At the same time, America's adversaries are developing and fielding new warfighting technologies, fifth-generation fighters, advanced air defense systems, and sophisticated space, cyber, and electronic warfare capabilities. Taken together, these advances are eroding America's military technological advantage. The skies that America has dominated are once again becoming contested airspace. To meet this challenge, the Air Force is committed to an ambitious set of modernization initiatives: F-35A fighters, B-21 bombers, KC-46A tankers, J-STARS, Compass Call, AWACS, and a new trainer aircraft, not to mention a modernized nuclear force. But there is simply no way all of these important yet expensive modernization programs will fit into the projected Air Force budget. Unfortunately, the President's fiscal year 2018 budget request does not sufficiently address the problems. It is only, and I repeat, only a 3% increase over President Obama's defense plan, which explains why the Air Force has identified a detailed list of unfunded requirements totaling $10.7 billion. The budget calls for 46 F-35As, far fewer than the 80 needed each year to put a dent in the Air Force's fighter capacity shortfall. The Air Force is expected to be almost 500 fighters short in fiscal year 18, and that shortfall will grow to nearly 1,000 by fiscal year 32 on the current program of record. Money alone will not address these problems. The Air Force must use its new acquisition authorities and avoid the mistakes of its many past acquisition failures. For example, while the F-35 is finally approaching the end of its long and arduous system design and demonstration phase, I remain concerned about the program's ability to finish on its latest, and I emphasize latest, delayed schedule and within its already massive budget. I am particularly concerned with the affordability and execution of the plan for Block 4 follow-on modernization. Similarly, the B-21 will provide a much-needed modernization of our aging bomber force. But this committee and the American people deserve to know more about how the Air Force intends to use the $2 billion in research and development funding for this program as requested for the coming fiscal year. Modernization of the nuclear triad to include a replacement for the air-launched cruise missile is critical and has bipartisan support in Congress. Modernization is not cheap, but it is affordable. And the reality is the costs of not modernizing our nuclear triad are far greater. On the KC-46, while I'm glad that taxpayers will not foot the bill for the repeated delays, thanks to the use of fixed-price contracts, I am concerned these delays will affect the scheduled introduction of this critical capability. Finally, we must confront challenges in the information domain. Despite some growth in this budget request, space program budgets are at 30-year lows, and decision-making is fragmented across more than 60, I repeat, 60 offices in the Department of Defense. Questions also remain about the Air Force's commitment to the National Cyber Mission. Last year, of the 127 Air Force officers that completed cyber basic training, not one, was retained on the cyber mission force. And when it comes to the development of information technology, all of the military services continue with one costly failure after another, as seen recently in the Air Force's new Air Operations Center program. As the information domain of warfare becomes more important than ever, there's growing evidence to suggest that the Air Force and the Department of Defense are not organized to succeed in this vital national mission. Restoring readiness, recapitalizing our combat aircraft fleet, and reinvesting in modernization will require strong personal leadership, accountability, and a frank assessment of the Air Force's true warfighting requirements, not simply what insufficient funding can accomplish. This committee expects you, Secretary Wilson, and you, General Goldfein, to provide the leadership our airmen deserve.